Today I'm going to give you a few tips on what accessories you need to go metal detecting. Now, I'm not including the metal detector, that goes without saying. I'm talking about the other things. I'm just going to give you 10. I can't do 10. I'll give you 10 items you need to take metal detecting with you. I know it sounds very basic, very simple, very obvious, but I'll try and go into a little bit of detail on all 10 products. Let's start with number 1. So the first item I would say is essential that you take out with you is a pinpointer. Now, I will go into more detail on which pinpointer you should have in a different video, but this is all about just saying you need a pinpointer. Now, when I started detecting in Germany, I did get one free with my first metal detector, and it broke within, I think it was the second day out I went out with it. One of these, I don't even know what it was. They're worth about £15, £20, $30. It was rubbish. And it had a tiny little stick on it like a pencil. It was like a phone with a pencil on the top, and I was poking. You're not meant to poke with it, and I was poking around in the muck, and it snapped on the second day. The rubbish. With a pinpointer, which is exactly the same as a metal detector, you pay for what you get. You get what you pay for. That's what I mean, isn't it? You get what you pay for. Now, all the decent ones, I would say you're looking at spending $100, £100, somewhere in that region, maybe £80, $90, somewhere like that for a good pinpointer. But most of them come into that bracket. There are a few new ones on the market which cost a couple of £100, I believe. I've never tried them, I can't really comment on them at the moment. But honestly, the ones £80 to £100, they're absolutely fantastic. There's nothing wrong with them. And these are the ones I'm using at the moment. I've used a few. I've probably used about 6 in my time. The first one being the Garrett. Everyone uses the Garrett Pro pointer, or nowadays they're using the Garrett Carrot, as they're calling it, which is like this orange colour, because it's waterproof. But I always found with the Garrett, they do stop working after 6 months, a year, or you have problems with them. These are the two I've been using lately. In particular, this is by Detechnix. This one's by Nocta. I save that for best, okay? That's for the future. I don't want to use both and ruin both at the same time, so at the moment I'm sticking with this. It's a bit battered now, but it has been the best one I've used, a Detechnix pinpointer. And this video is out there for you amateurs, for people who are just starting out in the hobby. You turn it on, you go near metal, and it bleeps. It's as simple as that. It's like I call this my mini metal detector. You've got your big metal detector, it finds out where the metal is, and then you stick this in there, and then it's like a metal detector in micro. Does that make sense? So, massive essential, I would say, is a pinpointer. It is not a must-have, it is not an essential. But once you've started metal detecting and you've decided you want to carry on doing the hobby, because you'll be amazed, probably about 70–80% of people who start the hobby quit after the first 6 months. It's just not for them. Once you've decided it is for you, that's when you should get one, and it really will help you out. So the next thing I think you definitely need when you're metal detecting, headphones. Not just for yourself, but for the people around you. If you come into local parks and lovely quiet places and people are out sunbathing, or they're out for a walk with the dogs, they don't want to hear you bleeping. It's alright in some places, you know, if you're in a farmer's field and you're miles away from everybody, you don't need them. Some people like the big ones and it cuts out all outside noise and they can just concentrate on the tiniest little beep, because sometimes you get very faint beeps. Will you stop yawning? My camera woman's yawning here. You can find a very faint beep, which usually means it's something very deep. It doesn't mean to say it's rubbish, it's just very deep. So some people like that. Personally, I hate it. I like to hear what's going on around me. Now, there's a few different kinds of headphones as far as I'm concerned. Firstly, you have got the big overhead ones which you plug into your machine. If you want professional metal detecting and you don't care what's going on around you and you don't care about anything but that bleep, get them. But one thing you've got to remember is comfort, and I always find they make your head sweat, they're uncomfortable. The wire going from the headphones to the machine is the biggest pain of metal detecting. I detested that for the first few years of detecting until I found wireless headphones. So you have the option of having the wire where you can use any headphones for any machine. You can have the big overhead ones, over-ear ones, or you can have the small, cheap ones. When I first started, I had a Garrett 350 metal detector, you know, low range. It certainly wasn't mid-range or high range, just a good starter detector, and I had very cheap headphones which I think came with it. But I liked them because it didn't cut out the outside noise. I liked that. So you've got the big ones, you've got the little ones, and you've got the another two kinds as well. And we're going into wireless now. There's two kinds of wireless. You can have wireless like these, which is what my girlfriend Mazza uses on her Garrett AT Pro. They're very good. They're wireless, and I do like these because these are the kind of size and comfort. I love the headphones shape and size themselves. The thing with these is they will work for various different machines, okay? But to do that, you usually have to have one of these. Will you just zoom in on there, please? Some kind of little attachment. Stick that to your metal detector somehow, and it will work for various machines. That's one option. And then you've got the option I now use, which are the ones which come from the company who sell the detectors. So these specific headphones are by Nocta. My metal detector's by Nocta, and they're specifically for this Nocta machine. And there's no wires. You don't have that. As soon as you turn your detector on and you turn your headphones on, they just automatically match up and you're away. And I can't stress enough, for me, the biggest comfort of metal detecting is not having a wire going from your headphones to your machine. For me, this is, and even the camera lady's nodding, she loves it. It just makes the hobby 10 times more enjoyable, not having to worry about them headphones. And when you do have a wire going to your machine, you'll be surprised how many times you snap the cable. I think I've gone through about 10 pairs before wireless came out. When I started metal detecting, there were no such thing as wireless headphones. There is now. So I would always recommend getting wireless headphones, but definitely get headphones. Number 3, a shovel, a good shovel. Now, I say a good shovel, there are shovels out there which you can get quite long handles, lightweight, heavyweight. Some people just use a garden spade. You can use whatever you want, but most metal detectorists just use these. They're very cheap. Here in Europe they're about, I don't know, £6, £6 to £10 each. They're not expensive at all, and they're like mini, so they're not too long. You can carry it like that, and as you can see, it's not touching the floor. You can walk along and you don't even notice it's there a lot of the times. The important thing to remember is to keep it sharp. Once it's not sharp, get a new one. Don't bother trying to sharpen it. It only costs you 4 or 5 quid. Get a new one. And personally, I've always stuck to these. One of these is Maz's, one of these is mine. There must be 20 different ones on the market, but look at the difference. Hardly anything. They all look the same. So I've always used these. I would like to use one of the expensive ones, which have, a lot of them have serrated edges on, and very good for cutting through roots, very slimline. I've never used one, so I can only talk about these. I've been happy with them. That's what more can you say about a shovel? It's a shovel, but you have to have a shovel. That is an essential. You can't metal detect without a shovel. So after I've just been shouted at by my girlfriend about the spade situation, she's just explained that hers costs £25–30. What, this one?
Yeah.
This is the kind I use, £6–7. I'm not saying this particular one was £6–7, but I only spend £6–7 on them. Now, do you want to spend £25–30 on that, or do you want to spend £6 on that and maybe get 4 for the price of one of them? Look at the actual bottom of them. Here, they're both said tempered. They're both tempered. They're exactly the same. There's no difference. Yes, it's a brand. You paid for the brand. I just got the cheapest from a cheap place. You were robbed. That's all I can say. You were robbed. Get cheap ones. They do just as good a job. So number 4 is a trowel. You have to have one of these, guys. Unless you're only going to be metal detecting on a beach or in a field, you have to have one of these. If you ever plan on going in woodland, you need one of these. They've got a serrated edge on them. Both sides on this occasion. This one's by Garrett, but most companies do a version. Now, when I started out, there was only one available. I can't remember the name of it. It had a red handle. They were about £60, really expensive. But nowadays they all do one, and they're about £20–30, I think. But you have to have one, because these can cut through roots, especially if you're doing woodland. You want something which can cut through roots, and for example, maybe there is a root under the surface and the metal object is underneath the root. You can just like pry it out. You can just scoop underneath the root. You can get to it. If you've just got a shovel, you've literally got to smash through the root to get to it, and it can be quite difficult. So definitely get one of them, a trowel. Next up is a pouch. It might sound very simple. You just need a bag to put your things in which you find metal detecting. Personally, I think there's more to it than that. Firstly, this is my girlfriend's, Maz's, and you just said you don't like this, it's just cheap rubbish, didn't you?
It's good.
It looks the part, it looks fantastic. Personally, I've had a few similar to this. They're too small, they don't do anything. You know, a tiny little pouch in there. Not much space, there isn't enough space in there. It's hard, you know, all these little pockets are all very good and well, but it's not for me. And it's not for Mazzy by the sound of it. Now, this is one by Detecnics. This is like my second choice, my backup one if you like. Just one big pouch. That's pretty good. And inside, if you can just come in here, inside you've got a little zip. So what I would tend to do, I haven't on this occasion, but oh, what's that? That's something I've found metal detecting in the past. I didn't know I had that in there. Woo! Anyway, back down, back down. So I would generally put my good finds in there and my rubbish in there. So that does the job. There's nothing wrong with that one. But this is the one I have used pretty much since I started metal detecting. I love it. It is just from an army, you know, a proper army bag. I got it off eBay, second hand, for £1. And I've used this for the last 5 years. Now, it did have flaps which came over here. I've cut them off, don't need them. And now I've just literally got 2 big compartments at each side. On one side, I tend to keep all my my batteries, my brushes, my gloves, things like that. And on the other side, I tend to put my junk, which I find. And I can guarantee that is a massive haul, and that is enough for anything I find in a day. I've filled it many times in a day, but I can always get my junk in there. As I say, I paid £1 for mine, for my favourite, the Detecnics one, and you do get this a lot. When you buy a metal detector from a company, they sometimes come free in the metal detector in the pack. I think this one came free in the pack. I certainly wouldn't have bought it. It came free in the pack, so get your metal detector and see if it comes with one. If it's as good as that, you're alright. On another note, they're very good for keeping your rubbish which you find, but you need somewhere for your good items. A lot of people carry these little plastic containers, and if they find a special coin or ring or anything, they'll put it in there and clean it up when they get home. Good idea. What I tend to do is have a special pocket in my trousers. Anything good I find, I put in there. In fact, I've got something from yesterday, just an old 1800s lead bullet. I always put things in there, and then when I get home, they're separate from the good stuff. What are you laughing at? Talk to me. What are you laughing
It's
at?
this bloody gimbal.
Oh, the gimbal.
Yeah.
Why? What's wrong with the gimbal?
I'm trying. I can't work the blooming thing at all.
I think you're doing all right. We're using a gimbal today, which is to steady the picture. So you might notice, is it good quality? Tell us in the description. It should be very smooth, but Mazzy's not used it before, and we're not sure if it's going to work until I get home and edit it. Anyway, that's pouches. Number 6, and a lot of people don't think about this, a belt, a good belt. Now, yes, you can use the loops on your own jeans, on your own trousers, but it tends to drag your pants down. It took me a few years to get used to this. What I've done, I've bought, it's a Makita belt, which is like a big tool company in Britain, and a lot of builders use this, and they hang the trowels and stuff around, and bags of nails and whatever. I don't know what builders do, but it's a builder's one, and you can get them with straps. I actually believe I've got a harness which comes with this, or I had one, and it holds it on your shoulders rather than on your trousers or your waist. But if you don't put it through the loopholes, keep it separate, have a really good one, you can take it off at the end of the day, throw it in the back of your car, and you're done, rather than having to keep looping things over all the time. But these are essential because all pinpointers come with a little pocket which goes on a harness. All diggers, these little digger trowels, they all come with one, and all of your bags do as well. So that's essential. So every time you go out, all you've got to do is put your belt on. Stick it on, pull them into the position you want, and you're away. I would say that is an essential for a beginner who's wanting to start metal detecting. You don't want to be uncomfortable, and that takes away all the problems. Number 7, batteries. Spare batteries. Now, a lot of metal detectors nowadays, especially the high-end ones, you tend to plug them in overnight. But I've got a bit of a problem with that. I would like to see them, and some of them do, where you can plug it in overnight and it's charged, but you have an option to put batteries in as well. If your machine runs out of its charge, overnight charge, from your electric point in the house whilst you're metal detecting, you're screwed. Unless some of them you've got an adapter to go into the car. You can go back to the car for an hour, sit down and wait for it to recharge. Rubbish. You're best getting a metal detector where you can put batteries in it, as far as I'm concerned, and always carry spares. Now, we have these because this is what my detector takes and my girlfriend's, and we have a 9-volt battery which is for the pinpointers and also for the big camera I use. So we've always got something. You have to have a backup. There's nothing worse than walking a mile or two to go metal detecting and then finding out that something's wrong. Another little point, don't buy cheap batteries, always go for top-end batteries. I like to use Duracell myself, and if you see Duracell and they're usually £5, but you've seen them for £2.50, don't buy it. It's what's known in the trade as a grey battery. They come from abroad and they're not to the same specifications as you get in England or wherever. For example, if I buy this in a supermarket or a garage and it's Duracell, I know it's an English standard Duracell. If I go to a car boot sale, a market, and I see it for £2, there's a good chance he's bought them, which are actually continental ones from Europe usually, and they're half as strong. So you might as well buy a cheap battery. So try to just pay the money, get the good ones. Don't try and save money on your batteries, because that is, without the battery, you're stuck. Number 8. I'm sorry this is dragging on a bit, but we're getting there, toothbrush. Simple as that, a toothbrush, something for cleaning your finds. Now, if you find something special like a Roman coin, you really don't want to be scrubbing it hard. But even with, if you've got a soft bristle toothbrush, just to lightly take it off, you're not going to harm it. That's not going to do any harm. But if you find something iron, and you can tell it's not going to be valuable, it's not going to be a treasure, you can always use an iron brush, and I use this a lot, as you can see from all the muck coming out of my brush. These are fantastic. Just give it a really good scrub and you can actually see what you've found, because there's a lot of times you're thinking, is that something or isn't it something? Just go over it with that, you'll find out if it's something or not. But anything delicate, just a toothbrush, no more. But yeah, essential, especially when it's a muddy day, just so you can see it. It's as simple as that. Knee pads. Knee pads. Now, as I've made a lot of videos, I do get a lot of comments from people saying, please Dan, will you start wearing knee pads? Because they're in the like 50s, 60s, and they've been metal detecting for decades, and they've got problems with the knees now. The joints have gone all funny. Now, I fully agree, you should, if you can, you should wear knee pads. You can get them nowadays, gel knee pads, and they're really comfortable. The only reason I don't wear them is because I've got really skinny legs, and this is true. They literally just slip down my leg. If I could get knee pads which didn't move, I would wear them. So you're wearing knee pads for a couple of reasons. One reason, to save yourself in the future, because 20, 30 years down the line, if you've been on the floor metal detecting 2, 3, 4 times a week, your knees eventually are going to suffer. So it's good for your health, but also it keeps your trousers clean. Anyone who metal detects can tell you for a fact, if they don't wear knee pads, whatever they're wearing that day, you're going to have caked on mud on your knees, and girlfriends, wives, bits on the side, they hate it. So yep, that's number 9, knee pads. We've got one more to go. So number 10, last but not least, gloves. Might seem very straightforward. You need things on your gloves. You need things on your hands to protect your hands. But there's so many different kinds of gloves on the market, and I'm really pleased this is the 2 pairs we've got today. My gloves and my girlfriend's gloves. Now, Maz's gloves, I have to try and put one on if it will fit me, and just explain. What's the point? You're still going to cut your fingers. There is absolutely no use for that glove whatsoever. It's cotton, it's going to get mucky, it's going to get clipped by all the bits of metal. It's absolutely useless. Don't get gloves like this unless you just want to look pretty in the woods. Be practical. You're talking to someone who all his life has worn gloves. In dozens of different jobs, I've worn different kinds of gloves for different jobs. And I always come back to these, the thorn-proof gloves. When I started wearing these, there was only one company making them, Town and Country. in England that is, and they're I think £7.99. Nowadays you can pick up 2 pairs for £1 because everyone's doing them. The thorn proof, you're not going to get thorns into your fingers. You're not the waterproof apart from on the back, but that's not a problem because you're not touching it with your back. Get thorn proof. Honestly, these are the best. Once that you've broke them in a bit, you don't even know you've got them on. Your hands do sweat a little bit, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Thorn proof gloves, which are the ones with a rubber middle and a cotton outside. Not them. So this video is for people who are starting out in metal detecting. I don't know, there might be some professionals who've been doing it for years who might learn from this, but it's aimed at people who are just starting out and they want to know what equipment to get. So that's the 10 items, the essential items, which I would look at investing in. Hope this helped somebody. There'll be more of these, by the way. If you missed yesterday's video, click on the little eye up at the top, and that video is all about, what was that about?
Woodland.
Oh, woodland. How to metal detect in the woodland, why you should metal detect in the woodland, and how to metal detect in the woodland. Did I say how twice then? It doesn't matter. Honestly, I'm an amateur. I'm not a professional. So that's the second in this little series of little tips and tricks to help people out. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.